Welcome to today's tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this gown. There is a pattern drafting video for how we came about this gown, so if you've not watched, please I'll advise you do so, and so that you can catch up. Okay, so these are the patterns. This is the back piece and these are the pieces of the front. Okay, so for me, I did not label, but for you, if it's going to confuse you, I advise you label all the patterns. Okay, so I'm just putting the pieces together so that you have an idea of which is which. Okay, if you follow the pattern drafting video, you should be able to recognize these pieces. Okay, so I removed the seal tape and I just because I'm going to be cutting, this is the back piece. Yes, so in the pattern drafting it was separated, but I decided to join it together so that I would slash the back open in order to insert boning channels for my boning. So I slashed the back open and styled that neck at the back. Okay, I just gave it a keyhole neckline at the back. Okay, so this is what I did. So I just measured the length I wanted. You can measure 7 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches, depending on which pleases you, and then I just slashed it open. Okay, so I'm putting the patterns together. It's time for me to cut. Okay, so I'm starting off with the front piece. I folded my material into two. Remember, the style we have had buttons, and the main reason why I folded into two is because I wanted to have an overlapping slit in front. Okay, so now this is the first pattern. This pattern is the pattern. This is the one that has the neck. Okay, so this like the upper part of the pattern that carries the neck. If you can see that V line, that is the neckline. Okay, so I just placed it and I'll be cutting what I have. I placed it on top the 2 inches fold that I have, and I'm going ahead to cut. Now take note of where I'll be adding the allowances for this pattern. Okay, so I'll be adding the allowance just at the top of the shoulder and beneath the pattern. That is that round part. Okay, so just for more clarity, the places you'll be adding the allowance is the places that are going to be joined. Yes, so for this one we are going to be joining that this down part I'm cutting right now. Now can you see that's where I added the pattern and the allowance? Okay, as you can see, so I did the joining allowance there and I added the joining allowance at the top. This is the shoulder line, so you can see that is where I added the joining allowance. Next up, I'm going to cut the bust area. This is like the bust area. It carries most of the bust. A remnant of the bust is on another pattern, but this is majorly the bust area. So I cut it exact, adding the joining allowance just at the down area as well. Okay, so I did not add any allowance by the size because the pattern already has side seam allowance, so this is just the joining allowance I'm adding. Okay, basically all I'm adding for this is the join allowance, and that's what I added at the base for that particular piece. Now I went ahead to cut this. I did not capture on camera, but I'll be showing us what I did. So this one as well, this is like the center piece of the pattern. I folded into two, and of course my 2 inches for my button allowance. So this is it, and I look how I added the allowance at the base, at the sides, and at should I say that curved area. Okay, so basically those are the places that I'll be having the joining, and that's why I added the allowance. Now can you see when you open it, that's what you have folded into two with my button allowance. Okay, so this is the back area. Now the back for the material, I did not divide the material, I just cut it one. Okay, so that I'll have straight boning channels. Remember, at the back you do not need your boning channels to be curved or slanty, you just need it straight. Now can you see the keyhole neckline with the upper piece of the back? So I went ahead to cut it on my fabric as well with the joining allowance. Feel free to give your keyhole neckline whatever size you want. This other piece is the down piece of the front fabric. Okay, so that's like the center piece and the side piece. Just follow the pattern drafting to understand. I went ahead to cut it on the fabric as well. I added the joining allowance up and down because that's where I'll be joining. Okay, and these pieces are the ones that have the plain material. If you're going to use a plain fabric, study the style very well and you know where to use the plain fabric. Okay, now those ropes I have there, it's what I'll be using for my boning channels. I went ahead to make those ropes, just folded, like they are 1/2 inch in size. After folding, so I'll join these pieces and then I'll use those ropes to create my boning channel. Okay, now for the lining, there are 2 ways to go about it. Either you cut exactly the way you cut the fabric, which from experience is more stressful. The easy way to go about it for the front piece is where, after drafting your princess cut or your bustier pattern, cut the lining first before you go ahead to separate the pattern, before you go ahead to pieces the pattern for the pattern drafting. Okay, that is much easier, so that when you've joined all the pieces on the fabric, you just have one piece of the lining, or just join the bustier and then go ahead to turn with your lining. It is much easier that way. Okay, so after you draft your princess bustier, go ahead to cut the lining before you pieces or cut the pattern, you separate the pattern. That's for the front piece. Okay, now look at this. I've gone ahead to insert my sew my boning channels. Okay, yes, so this is the back as well. I've gone ahead to sew my boning channels. I created the style lines. Okay, so I just joined basically at the joinings, and then the remaining lines were created as desired. Okay, now when we open it, this is what we have. Okay, now, so can you see that? Yes, and that's how it is. So that's the bust part. Now I'm going ahead to join the bust part to that bust area, as you can see. If you're following this video, if you're sewing along, you can just pause and do it, and then we'll see what it looks like. Now this is what it looks like. Our bust part is ready. Now please take note that for that bust part, I put my breast pad. Okay, and after putting your breast pad, when you've joined like this, you can go ahead to strengthen the padding. That is, it is now that you can strengthen the padding with your hairstay or whatever it is you use to strengthen your bust padding. Now I'm going ahead to join this. Trust me, this joining can be very tricky, but you can just pin and just follow the lines as so. It is possible. Okay, it's just a little tricky, but it's possible. So can you see it is joined, and then when we close it, we have one piece. Now yes, so can you see this? Now remember, for the lining, go ahead and join your lining. If you have joined your lining immediately after cutting your bustier pattern, you're not going to have to go through all this stress. Okay, yes, so that's it. But if you're cutting it like this, you can just do the same thing for your lining, and that's what we'll use to turn this piece of the lining. Now it is in that allowance, that button allowance, that I'll be fixing my button loops. You can go ahead and create tiny ropes for your button loops. That's what I have here. I created these tiny ropes, and I'll go ahead and fix my button loops. Okay, now there are some parts in the video that was not captured. I'm really sorry about that, but I'm going to be explaining as we proceed in the video. Okay, so I will not be fixing these button loops until I attach the down part of the gown, since the button loops went down to the gown or to the flare of this gown. Okay, so I'm just showing you by way of explanation that this is how the button loops are fixed. Okay, but I'll not be fixing it immediately. Okay, so this is it. After I put it, when I'm ready to fix, I'll just fix it as so, and I'll top stitch that area with the same color of thread so that it is invisible. And at this point, you can also turn your lining as well. If it's convenient for you, can turn your lining as well. This is the back piece. The same thing for the back piece. I have the upper part. I'll attach it at the upper part, and then you can turn your lining as well. Now I want to cut the flare for the front and for the back. Now can you see, when I'm cutting this flare, because I need that button allowance to extend to the flare, I opened up the dress. Okay, I did not close up the button allowance. I opened everything up, and I just placed this flare is a triangle. I just folded a triangle once. I'm cutting the front separately and the back separately, so I placed it on the top of the triangular, like this is a 90-degree fold. I place it on top of it and I just marked that shape, and then from there, from the sides of the upper piece, I'm going ahead to secure my length. I'm sorry you cannot see the down, the video didn't cover down, but go ahead and secure whatever length it is that you want to achieve. Okay, so I'm shifting it for us to see. Whatever length it is you want to achieve, make sure that you secure that length from the shape you have on this dress. Don't worry if it looks funny when you are curving. Trust me, when you put the gown together, it's going to have an aligned length. Okay, now just look at the way I'm doing it, and I'm taking it round. Okay, so now I did not cut directly because I wanted to leave the joining allowance on top of that shape. Okay, so that's why I didn't cut it directly. Now just look at the way I mark this flare. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut, and then I'll cut the upper part, but I left joining allowance at the top, so I did not cut exactly on the line I marked. Okay, so that's it. Mind you that it's your flare length. After the flare length you've calculated, or the length of flare you want, is what you go ahead and mark. And this is the back piece. I went ahead to take the width of my back piece. I had here 12 inches. Okay, that's the entire width. This is one side of the back, this is the other side that is here. So I took the width for one side of the back because I'm folding my fabric into two. Okay, so I went ahead and placed the front flare. I placed it, but remember that the shape at the upper part is not the same. So I marked my 12 inches. Okay, I marked the width that will give me my 12 inches, or should I? Yes, I marked what will give me the width of my 12 inches. It wasn't okay. I went ahead to secure that 12 inches round. Okay, that will be attached to the back. Now, because the shapes are not different, we need the shape of the back to be the same at the base of the flare, but we don't want it to be the same at the top. Okay, so you are going to mark out the top of the back separately. While you cut the down of the skirt, you're going to cut it the same. I hope you understand. I really hope you understand, but if you don't, you can just follow the video or ask me questions in the comment section and I'll attend to them. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, this is me saying please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like this video, share, and turn on your notification bell because I always drop amazing content. Okay, for me how I made this dress, I made the lining part separate, the dress part separate, and I just turned it as one piece. So I went ahead to open up this. You see, you're going to place it and join as so. This is the up and the flare. Place and join as so. I joined the same for my lining and I just turned it one way. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't capture everything in this video. It was at a point it became an emergency, so I just had to do the work without videoing because it was an emergency. But this is what we have. That's the style of the hands I use. I'll be showing you. These are the buttons. Okay, so remember I explained how we fix the loops, so I just go ahead and fix your loops and just sew the button. Okay, it's not separated. Okay, it's just you sew your button at that point inside the loop to secure it as so, as you can see. Okay, so that's me showing you. That's the way I made it. The bonies were inserted after, like for the front piece, after joining this down part to the upper part, I went ahead to insert my bonies I inserted the bonings before attaching the flay. Okay, just take note, put your bonings before you put your flay. And when putting your boning, I use the plastic boning. You can use, if you're using a Regiline, you can sew on it, but if you're using a plastic boning, you have to give an allowance. So the boning has to, you just have to cut the boning, shorten it so that you can sew on the fabric. And I did not allow the plastic boning to reach the bust area. My plastic boning stopped at my underbust. I didn't allow it to reach the bust area, just for comfort. Now this is the hands. I hemmed the armhole, and then I just cut that flap you see at the hand. I just cut it and I just attached it as so. Okay, that's quite easy. I think the basic things you need to know for this dress, I've tried as much as possible to explain it. Basically, the main work is with the upper part of the dress. Once you have joined these other parts, you fix your boning, you're good to go. And this is how the dress came out. It came out so lovely. It has a zipper at the back. If you're not using a zipper, you would make allowance for loops and just do. It can be quite technical. I really wish I could make another video, but this is what we have, and stay tuned. I'll see you in my next video.